What's going on, folks? Coach Max here, and welcome to my free training on staying fit throughout the holidays. We just had Thanksgiving, Christmas is right around the corner, and I want to share with you my tips on how to enjoy this time of year while staying on track with your health and fitness goals. So, personally, this was something that I struggled with myself for a very long time, even though I was consistent and fit for most of my adult life. There was always a more challenge around any time there was a extended holiday period or a vacation where I was just out of my normal schedule and I didn't know how to get past the mental blocks of not being as inspired, not being as motivated to train, not having my usual gym or other equipment available if I'm traveling somewhere. And there was just a lot of trial and error to figure out what works during these times of year. But I'm here to share with you what I learned through my experiences, and hopefully this is things that you can apply as well with the vacation or holidays that you have coming up. So it's a great time of year, but it's also a potential pitfall for your health and fitness goals if you don't manage it well. But that's okay. This guide is going to teach you how to enjoy this time of year and not feel terrible afterwards, both in terms of how you physically feel as well as your emotional level, the guilt, right, that comes from indulging sometimes in food or drink. So, but if you follow this guide, you might even get a head start on your New Year's fitness goals and being ahead of the pack in that sense by using those extra calories to get stronger. So first off, you want to plan ahead, which is the main core idea I want to impart here, because having a strategy is going to reduce impulsive decisions that lead you to overeat. So for example, just like you wouldn't go to a grocery store on an empty stomach, you also don't want to go to a big dinner party with a full spread, completely just starving, right? You want to have a small balanced snack beforehand to avoid an overindulging. Personally, I like these chicken melts from Costco. They're the perfect amount of food for this exact purpose. I will link them in the description down below. You can also use your TDEE calculation to manage yourself, and that stands for Total Daily Energy Expenditure. It's a really simple calculation that you can get online, which I'll also link a calculator below, but it's basically how much calories you spend in a day just really by existing. So if you find out this number and you keep your ballpark allowance for daily food tracking, if you continue to track your food during this time of year, and you maintain this by plus or minus 10% week to week, your fat gain is going to be really minimal. But if you do end up in a calorie surplus, that's also not a bad thing because, especially as a newbie, even a surplus of 150 to 200 calories is enough to build roughly 1 pound of muscle per month. So potentially, especially if you're going to be on vacation, on a holiday for an extended period of time, if you continue to train according to these parameters during this time, you can actually get quite a bit stronger and make quite a bit of gains. But we all know that's not necessarily realistic for everybody, right? It might feel like too much to ask to continue to go to a gym and continue to train during the holiday season. So I want to show you some other ways you can stay active and stay physically engaged even if you don't go into a gym to train. So first off, just something to keep in mind is that exercise is going to be really helpful to you even during a holiday period because it's going to offset calorie intake, it will boost your metabolism, and it's going to support your mental health during what is potentially a pretty stressful time for a lot of people. So if strength training 3 times a week feels like too much, you can simply commit to 20 to 30 minutes of movement on a daily basis, even if it's just a brisk walk, a short body weight workout, or even dancing to holiday music with friends and family. And I have linked a killer body weight combo here. It goes a burpee into a plyo jump into 2 jumping split squats. You can challenge the kid nieces and nephews to a contest of this and see who wins. And I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. When it comes to eating during the holidays, you want to prioritize protein intake just as you would during your regular trainings. So it's going to help you feel full for longer. It'll help you preserve muscle mass, and it's going to help you burn more calories during digestion versus other kinds of food. So start your holiday meals with a lean protein source, something like turkey, chicken, fish, or for your vegans out there, tofu is another great choice. And this is going to help you reduce your overall calorie intake. When it comes to controlling portion sizes, this is one of the most effective ways that you have to control your overall calorie intake. So when you're at a big dinner, try to use smaller plates or smaller bowls. Serve yourself pretty modest portions to begin with, and then wait about 10 to 15 minutes in between servings to go for seconds just to see if you're still hungry. And that way you're eating more intentionally and not more than you wanted to in the first place. So eating vegetables is actually one of the better things you can do if you do have a tendency to overeat, because relative to other kinds of food, they are high in fiber, they're low in calories, and they're going to help you stay full. So for you vegans and vegetarians out there, feel free to go crazy and load up on those roasted, steamed, raw veggies before you have the mashed potatoes or these other heavier, more calorie dense foods, and that's going to curb you from overeating just the kinds of foods that might be a little bit more impactful in terms of your caloric intake. Liquid calories are something you have to be especially mindful about managing during the holiday season, because sugary drinks and alcohol, there are a lot of empty calories and they don't provide you with a lot of satiety. So instead, try your best to opt for things like sparkling water or low calorie mixers like soda water with lime. And if you do plan to drink, try to stick to clear spirits and alternate with water so you're staying hydrated throughout the process. And if there is a delicious cocktail on the menu that you'd like to try, splitting up the portion with a friend, a family member, or a loved one is going to go a long way here. So snacking on things like cookies and chips, especially during the holidays when you may be sitting around with not much to do for long stretches of time, can lead you to mindless overeating. So instead, try to be really smart about your snacking choices. In addition to the ones I have listed here, I just did a post on the best stress eating snacks that have decent macros and not too high in overall calorie content that would also be great choices as well. So definitely do check that out. So the holiday season, it's probably not the best time to be trying intermittent fasting or these other kind of eating patterns that some made helpful at certain times to control their caloric intake. Because if you're fasting, by definition, it's going to cause you to be more hungry than usual. And then when you do get to eat, the higher likelihood it is that you're going to overeat and overindulge. So even if you're planning for a big dinner, do eat balanced meals throughout the day. And you don't have to start the day with a huge breakfast. Just make sure that it's balanced between protein, fiber, healthy fats, and that's going to help you stabilize your blood sugar and reduce those cravings to overeat when you get to have your main meal. You want to stay hydrated because thirst is easily mistaken for hunger, and that can in turn lead to unnecessary caloric consumption. So drink a glass of water before your meals, carry a water bottle, aim for at least 4 of those 16-ounce bottles of water on a daily basis. You can even add a little bit of salt or electrolyte supplements to just feel more hydrated than drinking water alone. I also like this just because it tastes good versus drinking regular water. The way you eat, not just what you eat, does matter as well. So it will be really helpful for you to savor each bite, chew really thoroughly, take breaks in between your meal to gauge your hunger cues and see where you're at. And that's going to help you keep from overeating more than you really need to or intend to. So something that I struggle with myself is I like to sample. I like to have a lot of variety and diversity in my food. But when you approach a holiday dinner spread that way, it can add up very quickly. So the better thing to do is to pick 1 or 2 treats that you really love and just enjoy them guilt-free, as opposed to trying to take a little bit of everything that can add up really quickly, and then that might have a bigger impact on your overall calorie intake. So again, splitting up portions if you really want to try a whole bunch of different things is going to be really helpful here. And finally, if you're following all of these tips, but you still find yourself overindulging on like one big meal for the week, don't stress out about it. Weight gain is going to come from a consistent pattern of overeating over a longer time. It's not going to come from a single holiday meal. So if you do overindulge, just get back to your routine the next day and don't stress because one meal is not going to ruin your progress. Speaking of stress, you want to manage your stress levels in general because if your cortisol levels shoot up, it can increase appetite, promote fat storage, and trigger emotional eating as well. So, especially during a stressful time like the holiday season, you want to check in with yourself, be intentional, be mindful, especially when you feel that physical tension that often collects and goes up in your throat and head area when you're under duress. So, if at all possible, if you encounter those situations, remove yourself from the stressor and practice breathing techniques such as box breathing, or if you're familiar with a Human in the Lab podcast, the Physiological SI, both of those and a host of others as well are good techniques to try in those types of situations. Finally, sleeping well will be super important. I typically try to shoot for about 7 myself, but if you're more of an 8 hours or 9 hours person, that's also fine. You just want to make sure that you're staying consistent during the holiday season and going to bed, waking up around the same time, and that's going to keep your body's rhythm constant balance so that you can continue to manage your eating really well. So that was a lot, but hopefully that was helpful for those of you who are traveling this week or going on vacation for the holidays between next week and the coming new year. And if you're looking for help with your training, fitness, nutrition, support, and accountability all around the year and not just during the holiday season, I am currently taking one-on-one coaching clients. My DMs are always open. I would love to hear from you on your exact specific challenges and what you'd like to work on, the timeline you're on, and I can discuss with you the ways that I can help. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.